Welcome to Maritime Punk. My name is Jeff Boudreau, and today we're heading to the West Coast, California to be exact. I have Joe Doherty, lead singer and songwriter for California hardcore pioneers, Jughead's Revenge. So thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So formed back in Los Angeles in 1989, what do you remember about that crazy punk scene back then?
Uh, well, it was a lot different than, say, in like '84. It was a lot different.
Mm.
By '89, crossover had happened. The punk scene was actually kind of at a low point in LA. Bad Religion was going on, but I mean, as far as like in clubs, playing in a punk band back then was kind of a dumb idea because everyone uh, was going for more of a sound of like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction, and then here we were, doing Black Flag covers and whatever, and yeah, people were like, "Oh God, that's like old," and then Nirvana happened, and then Green Day happened, and then everybody was
Mm.
back on board. But I'd say it was more exciting, but a lot less safe back then.
Yeah, 100%. You've been sharing some of your old tour posters, and it's really cool to think that almost all of these bands are still active, and these could still be shows to this day. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I posted a couple of the Gilman
Mm-hmm.
shows that we were doing early on. Yeah, it's kind of funny, but also it's for that was the same thing as seeing flyers from the '80s from the shows I was going to early on when you'd see Fear, the Circle Jerks, and Wasted Youth playing on one show. I mean, to me, that's like a dream bill, but now it seems like kind of impossible. But but that's the same thing for people seeing us playing with Green Day and Pennywise and No Effects at a place that fit 250 people.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What are some maybe old bands that you used to listen to when you were younger that are touring that you've had the chance to catch in your later years?
Well, seeing Fear again is definitely a
Mm.
trip. We played with them at Punk in the Park. It was a festival in Orange County down here a few years ago. And, man, those guys are still so incredibly good. So, and we're lucky enough to be playing with them this December in Arizona. So I mean, we're all really happy about it.
So back in the BYO record days, you decided to put on your own shows to kind of keep ticket prices down. And you've also mentioned issues with violent security guards. How much of a problem was that within the California scene back in the day?
It was a big problem, especially
Yeah.
at the clubs in Hollywood anyway. Uh, so yeah, security. I mean, like, well, for instance, we played one time was at the Whiskey with Green Day and NoFX, and some kid got beat up by the security guard, which was an average Tuesday around there. But his mom wound up suing the Whiskey, and then the Whiskey tried to sue me, which was really funny. So, but they didn't have a case or anything. So
Mm.
um, they're like, yeah, you'll never play here again. And I asked them like, because by this time Green Day was, now Green Day. So I'm like, all right, so Green Day wants to play there, you're not gonna
Yeah.
have that, or No Effects are like, that's right, we'll never have Green Day here. Yeah, and then we played. We wound up playing there about 6 months later with the Descendants. So it was I don't know, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, violent security. They were at shows a lot. Now I think there's a little less of that.
Mm.
I mean, bouncers are bouncers, but I think like when stuff like the Warp Tour came in, that things got a little more um, homogenized, I guess.
Yeah. All right. In 1994, you toured Canada for the first time. What are some memories you have from those Canada shows?
It was awesome. We went Face to Face. Were nice enough to bring us out, and it was just awesome. And you're in New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, born and raised.
Yeah,
Middle
loved it
of
up there. It's
nowhere.
awesome. But yeah, that was the only time we got to play there was on that first tour. But yeah, it was really awesome. We've always loved playing in Canada. We still do. So, hopefully we'll be back up soon.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to punk bands covering songs, I always find the song selection interesting. You've covered Young Turks by Rod Stewart, Talk Dirty to Me by Poison, Just When I Needed the Cars. So are these some of your guilty pleasures? What are some things you listen to when you're not rocking punk rock?
Yeah, I don't know. I listen to all different kinds of stuff. I always have, though. That was the
Yeah.
thing. It's like I was like the youngest kid on my block growing up. And there was a lot of different kinds of people that lived on that street. So I'd get turned on to one kind of music through these guys and another kind of music through these guys, and uh, yeah. So as far as doing covers, like I don't know, we don't think about are people going to get bummed? I mean, we covered on the new record, we covered '80s from Killing Joke, and
Yeah.
nobody knew it was a cover. That's the funny thing.
Yeah. I actually didn't
Almost
either.
every interview
I'm
I
not
did for
even
the
gonna
record
lie.
was like, huh?
I was one of those you fooled. I didn't know either.
I don't know. We thought everybody knew that song, but I don't know. Whatever.
It's a
We
good
did it
tune.
anyway.
Joey Ramici, the only original member still performing with the band. What does he bring to the table? And tell me about the friendship that you guys share after being bandmates for so many years.
Well, it's definitely a brotherly relationship,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Your
yeah,
family on
I
the
mean,
road.
I love him as a brother. So
Mm.
I never really think about how much time has gone by until actually I was watching Pump Up the Volume the other night, and my wife was like cracking up because it's like so incredibly 90s. I think it came out in like 90 or 91, but about I saw this in a theater with Joey, and that like totally put the perspective on me. Like, wow, I've known that guy a long time.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, on the new record on Vultures, Jared Thornton is playing drums on there. He played on Images Everything. He played
Mm.
on 13 Kitty Favorites, and he was nice enough to do the recording. So with this record, it's pretty close to the chemistry of Images Everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. On the cover of your 1999 release, Pearly Gates, there's a bunch of aging punkers in a home. And I noticed there was a balloon with the inscription Happy New Year 2025. So is this what you were thinking 2025 would look like to you?
Yeah, that's well, the artist Dave Lehman did the cover. It's still it's a great cover. That guy is just such an awesome artist. But yeah, at the time we're like, oh, 2025, that's pretty funny. Yeah, now we're
It's a
here.
lifetime away, and now it's a year away.
I know, isn't that a trip? So I don't know.
You released a brand spanking new album, or I guess an EP this year. Can you tell me a bit about that one, the production of it? And there's a really cool music video that accompanies it too. Can you tell me about that as well?
Yeah, that's it basically came out of COVID that all of us, our schedules got pretty wiped like everybody else, and we just started writing some songs. And they went ahead and uh, they went in the studio and they recorded American Gestures as like a surprise, like, hey, we have a new song. So then I went and did the vocals, I don't know, like a couple months later because COVID was just kicking in and delaying everything. But yeah, this Vultures on Spam Records, that was the recording was a lot like when we were doing Images Everything. It reminded me a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're super stoked on it. The video for I'll Be Seeing You was directed by stop motion animator Jurgen Kling. He's that guy's a genius. So we owe him everything for doing that video. We're super proud of it, and none of that would have happened without him. So I urge people to check that out.
It's very well done for sure. I also think the internet age ruined certain things in the way that there's a lot of people that are following bands that have no idea who they're following, and sometimes the comments
Yeah,
section will kill me. I'll be on a Dead Kennedys post on their Facebook page, and people will be commenting like, stay out of politics, just stick to music. And I'm like, do you know where you are?
I know, right? I know the dead Kennedys. I know that's one thing that really tripped me out through the Trump administration was that I thought that it would really create a lot of new great punk bands,
Yeah.
but it didn't. At least not in America, which is really weird. It seemed like everybody was kind of going the opposite
Yeah.
end of like, oh, don't talk about politics. Okay, what if the Clash did that?
I know.
What if the Dead Kennedys did that?
They've been trying to banish Green Day, saying that they don't want to be in America, missing the point of we want a better America.
Yes, that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
I mean, you can't pay attention to every comment online either because you'll just go crazy.
Yeah, I know. I don't participate in any of that. But I mean, it's as far as the internet, its contribution into punk rock was, good in some ways that it turned people on to more bands that you wouldn't have the opportunity to hear. But also it kind of took the importance of it away because, in the 80s or even in the 90s, like you'd find out about a band in like a zine, Maximum Rock and Roll or Flipside, whatever. Then you'd go to like your local store and maybe they had it.
Yep.
Otherwise you'd have to order it, from the label or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a lot of work to do it. And I think that's why a lot of older punkers are as kind of pretentious as they are. It's because it took a lot of effort for us to hear about a band or find out about a band or find out when they're coming through town playing at, some DIY spot or something.
Yeah.
So the internet did some good, but I think it took a lot of that work out of it. So then when you see a younger person wearing, whatever, Poison Idea shirt or something, it's just like part of you is just like, how do you even know about that? That took work to find out about them. But now it's, on iTunes.
Yeah. And in my generation, in the early 90s, when I was discovering punk for the first time, compilations were huge. I discovered Jughead's Revenge from the Punk Bites comp. So I think that's where I found you guys.
Yeah, that's how in the 80s I came across a lot of bands like that too, just from compilations, and then you kind of find out like, oh, or they're from this town, and you go to your local record store and see if they had any of their stuff.
Yeah, reading the liner notes to see who the bands thanked, because let's face it, back then we didn't have our phones to scroll through in the bathroom. So let's bring a few CDs in and see who they're talking about. Discover a few bands that way too.
Yeah, those things are important to me too. Like with the like layouts of records, like that's like a huge part of it. So luckily we were working with this guy, our friend Andy Lenosky, the late Andy Lenosky. He did the Just Join cover. He did Images Everything. He created like that whole diorama for the Just Join cover, and I didn't know anything about any of this, and I just come over. He's like, "Hey, check out what I did." I love stuff like that, but I also love like the liner notes. Where they recorded. Who engineered it. Stuff like that. I'm a nerd, so I'm into that.
True. I mean, when you're in the scene too, you'd probably recognize a lot of those names. You're like, oh, I didn't know Tom worked on this album, like things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think somebody should do a documentary on West Beach Recorders, which was the studio in LA that, if you were into 90s punk or had 90s punk records, chances are, if you had 10 of them, chances are 8 of them were recorded at West Beach Recorders. All the early Fat and Epitaph stuff. And that place, huge history.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
But, just things like that. Like, ooh, they recorded at West Beach,
Yeah. Nerd thumbs up there.
I know. I know, it's all dork. But that's the thing. Like, I grew up loving records like that, Yeah. So then when I started making records, it was like, I try to do all those things that I was into looking at other people's records.
Mm-hmm. How thankful are you that records picked up steam after the 90s and kind of was brought back a way of revenue for music? Because let's face it, there was a period where people were like, oh, I can go on LimeWire and download every album, and people just stopped buying physical media. But now a
Yeah,
band releases an album, like, here's the orange variant, only 1,000 exist, and boom, they're gone.
yeah. Yeah, the downloading thing, I don't know. I mean, like when Napster happened, that didn't really affect us. That was more, like Metallica, Weezer, like the people that were, complaining about it. But then eventually it did reach us, where, uh, you know, you weren't getting checks from the record companies anymore and all that. And you're like, well, what happened? That.
Mm.
But, uh, but as far as like even downloading stuff on, say, like iTunes, I'm not thrilled about, just, okay, I just want this song and this song. Like that's part of the record making process is doing your, like doing your track listing and the, syncing of all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then when it's posted, it's just like, they'll just take, 2 or 3 songs and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a bummer. And also like the artwork. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again. So like having a 12-inch by 12-inch, tangible thing where you can put in all kinds of little details. Like I always love like the old Iron Maiden covers because there's so much you could just stare at it for
It's
hours.
true.
There's just all kinds of little things in there that are just awesome. I
Mm-hmm.
love stuff like that.
Yeah. So I know it's a tricky trek to do the whole across Canada tour. Do you think you'll ever make it back to the east coast of Canada?
I hope so. I mean, the last time we were in Quebec was yeah, I guess it was about a year and a half ago at the Red Bridge
Mm-hmm.
Fest.
Okay.
I hope so. I mean, I love playing in Canada, but yeah, Eastern Canada is particularly fun.
Mm-hmm.
So
Awesome.
hopefully soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was fun chatting with you, and best of luck with the rest of your musical journey.
Well, thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
All right. No worries.